Oh yeah, sexy biscuits. Nice.
Long Boys Blues, 1975. A YouTuber's on the rise. Reviewing games late at night and sometimes friends. But Long Boys Blues, 1975.
Hey YouTube, Lawn Post 1975, and welcome to a on-camera vlog. I haven't done one of these in absolutely yonkers, but yesterday, dependent upon when I make this video live, was July 3rd, which means, at least in North America, that's the 40th, or it's the 40th anniversary since the release of Back to the Future. Anyone who watches my channel will know that I absolutely love and adore Back to the Future. It's been my favourite movie since day one. Nothing else has even come close. So I wanted to, just because obviously how much this movie means to me, and the fact that it's its 40th anniversary. It will be its 40th anniversary for those of us in the United Kingdom in December of this year, which is when I saw it on opening night. But for all intents and purposes, obviously its North American release is its true 40th anniversary, and I had to talk about it. I mean, I've talked about it before, but I want to talk about my memories of seeing it in the cinema, some memories along the way of what it means to me in times where I was like, I don't want to say alone because, you know, I was only in hospital, but I was scared, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And yeah, I still got comfort out of the movie and its home releases. Now, I'm doing this from, you know, nostalgic member berry. So if anyone wants to be a knob jockey and correct me in the comment section down below, yeah, don't bother. I mean, seriously, this is from the heart and this is from my my nostalgic memories of but also, boring random interesting fact, because obviously Back to the Future came very close to not being made. Both Bob and Rob, the Bobs, if you will, they struggled to get any studio to take it on board. There was the problems with, you know, Eric Stoltz when they realised like 6 weeks into filming that he just wasn't working out for them. Apparently he was a bit of an ass, according to Tom Wilson, and just got too fit. He was full-on method actor in a comedy, really, and got, you know, a bit too physical in scenes that didn't require it. There was the problem, obviously you probably all know this, there was the problem that Michael J. Fox was committed to Family Ties and they wouldn't initially release him, which is why they had Eric Stoltz, but then they did release him, but he could only film at night, and any of the daytime scenes that he shot was shot on the weekends on his days off, and he got like 3 hours sleep a night. Excuse me. And was driven from the set of Family Ties in the back of a station wagon on a mattress to the set of Back to the Future. There was the whole thing with Crispin Glover where they had to really rein in his performances and just tend to do what was in the script. At one point it was going to be called Spaceman from Pluto, which is what the comic is in the movie, but then they got around that by responding to the producer who wanted to call it that. Oh, good joke, good joke. So he be shamed into admitting, oh no, it's real. No, it was a joke. And then when it finally released, it was an absolute box office smash. I think it's the most popular comedy of 1985. And funnily enough, Michael J. Fox couldn't actually be at the premiere of his own movie because he was filming a Family Ties TV movie in London. That must have been a weird experience. Excuse me, I've just had a Greggs sausage roll and I thought you should know that fact. That must have been a weird experience watching across from the Atlantic where you couldn't, you know, be at the premiere of your own movie and see, even back then, what, you know, a phenomenal success it was becoming. Now, in this country, as I said, it was released at Christmas, but we had the whole run-up, the whole build-up. So I was 9 in 1985. We had the whole run-up and build-up to our December release, which just made it even better for me. So we got all the promotion material, because I can remember in summer holidays when we were at our chalet on holiday, I should say, in Westward Ho. We had that documentary that Michael J. Fox made where he's talking about the history of time travel or time machines on screen in movies. And behind him is the DeLorean with a tarp on it. And he said, and at the end of this, I might show you something that could actually possibly make it actually real. And that blew my mind. I just remember, and obviously this was before we had Sky Movies, which would have been 1989, and Sky Movies obviously had the top 10 movies in, you know, the US box office. But this was such a massive, massive, massive movie. Excuse me. Last time I have a Greggs before I vlog. That it made it to the news over here. This movie is doing absolutely gangbusters. Michael J. Fox is now, you know, that's it. He's A-list. I mean, he was kind of a TV A-list, we should say. Teen Wolf came out before Back to the Future, didn't it? But it came out in the cinema after Back to the Future in this country. But yeah, so we got all this hype, all this promotion, all over the news, what this amazing, amazing movie was, and I could not wrap my head around the title. I've talked about this before. I was 9, for God's sake, but Back to the Future. What does that even mean? Obviously now I know he gets stuck in the past, which I kind of knew from, you know, all the promo material that we saw, just being now retired. But yeah, so he has to get back to the future. So the hype was in there, and we had to wait till December. So we went to see it. My mum took us all on the opening Friday, and yeah, absolutely blew my mind. You know, for then special effects, the DeLorean would forever make me fall in love with a bad car. You know, this crazy old scientist inventing a time machine that this high school kid got to hang out with. That was just insane. We all wanted to hang out with a crazy old scientist. Going back to 30 years in the past. If you went back to 30 years in the past now, by the way, you'd be going to 1995, which I'd be fine with because the cars are pretty decent. We had satellite TV and we had 32-bit gaming consoles. So, and Daytona USA. So I'm fine with that. It just shows you how time varies, doesn't it? But yeah, going back and meeting his parents, his mum falling in love with him, which is the reason none of the studios wanted to touch it with the barge pole and stuff like that, because incest. But I just, and that ending, even, first of all, sorry, I should say, on the big screen, the tension of that ending with Doc Brown on the clock face is insane. I mean, the whole idea of, you know, he has the flyer, sorry, spoilers, with the exact date lightning will strike the clock tower. Essentially, it's a plot MacGuffin, isn't it? And then you know that you only get one shot of this, and the wires go down. That killed me as a kid. But isn't it weird that even as an adult, that I still watch that scene, and I know what's happened because I've watched Back to the Future probably 150 plus times, and yet it still makes me tense. That's what a good movie is, and that's how much I love it. And it cleaned up in the UK as well. It cleaned up everywhere. It was a phenomenal global, you know, hit. There wasn't really any merchandise though, was there, back then for when you were an equal kid? How times would change. I mean, I've got so much. I've got the jacket, I've got the hat, not wearing them because it's 30 degrees right now. I've got the boots, not wearing them for the same reason. I've got the hoverboard, I've got DeLoreans coming out your ass, I've got 2 Playmobil DeLoreans, I've got both license plates, I've got all the action figures, I've got the Funkos, I've got the book from when I was a child, which was released in 1989 upon the release of Back to the Future 2, but features all Back to the Future movies. I got the graphic novel, I got everything. I got everything. Maybe at some point I'll do an update on my collection. I absolutely love and adore Back to the Future. It is my crack. But now that we've talked about it coming out in the cinema and forever changing my life, and I'm sure a lot of other people's lives, I want to talk about it through home media and my journey through that as well. So, Back to the Future got released in this country. So it got released in the cinema in December 1985. You would wait a year then between cinematic release, at least in this country, and rental release. And we had a Betamax, which in my, you know, owning Back to the Future media would always fuck me over if you wanted to own, excuse me, I'm so sorry, an original copy. So it was released in this country to rent in 1986. December, like, so a whole year, and we rented it once from Enterprise Video in St. John's Lane. It's now a supermarket, and yeah, so I hadn't seen it for a year because there was no other way to back then. I hadn't seen it for a year, and it's still just, and I absolutely loved it. And I gotta have this, but obviously, in fact, I think it was quite rare in general for you to even buy home releases, you know, the small box home release. small box, Dave. That's a big box. Small box home releases. For VHS then, only specific rare ones. It didn't become like you could walk into Woolworths until, and there was racks and racks of them till a few years later. So yeah, loved it. We only ever rented it once. I could have rented it a ton more times, but both my brothers and my mum would rent us a movie on a Friday, and it would be for the weekend, and it'd be for all three of us. So both my brothers were like, "I'm not watching a movie we've already seen," and I'm like, "But it's Back to the Future, man." They both love it now. Hence the fact that that's their go-to easy Christmas gift for me. But then no, it's a given that in the bloodline of the Wade family, I am the guy with, the predisposition to just fucking everything Back to the Future. So yeah, so saw it once on home video. Then in 1987, which this blows my mind as well. Only 2 years till it gets to 2 years from the UK release date, 2.5 years from the US release date, it gets its first terrestrial showing on TV. That's mind-blowing. So BBC One showed it, I think it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Christmas Day in 1987. And so good thing about that is it's BBC One, so no commercial breaks, no hovering around the pause and then restarting the record to cut out all the commercial breaks and having god awful breaks. The bad thing about it being terrestrial TV in the middle of the afternoon is you would get the TV cut and not the original version. Good thing about it being Back to the Future, they didn't have some dumbass in the studio redub lines and stuff like that. They shot some of the scenes twice. So at the end, when Marty goes, I remember this, it told me this in the book I just mentioned. So when Marty goes, "Well, I haven't saw us in the future, Doug. Turn into some assholes or something?" That's a no-no for 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Christmas Day. What will the baby jeebus stink? So they reshot reshot the scene for, do we turn into jerks or something like that? So I was fine with that. The problem was, my brothers had already nabbed the Betamax because they wanted to record Empire Strikes Back, which I'm pretty sure, don't correct me if I'm wrong, that as late as this would have been, this was its first terrestrial screening, but it was on ITV, so you would have commercial breaks in it. But it was Empire, and I still wanted it recorded. So my poor mum drove, when we realised that this was happening, caused a little argument, drove the 10 miles down the road to Churchill to my Auntie Sheila's house with a brand new blank VHS, Betamax tape, videotape I should say, so she could record Back to the Future to us. Never mind if she wanted to record something like the Queen's Speech or something like that. She was shit out of luck because I had to have Back to the Future, and then that became my my copy of Back to the Future. I wore that bad boy out. I watched that so much I could only watch it downstairs because we only had a Betamax at that point. Excuse me, Windy Pops. I am aware I'm all over the shop in this vlog with food, clear as a throat and Windy Pops. And it wasn't until I get VHSs in my own room, because I had two. I think you know the reason why, but we're not going to talk about that. So, yeah, this was my copy. Brothers watch it occasionally, but I think everyone in the house realises, why is he so obsessed with this film? So I wore it out and watched it and watched it and watched it. Then, and this is the memory I talk about where it wasn't a fun memory, but Back to the Future was there. 1988, I had to go to hospital for an operation on one of my eyes, because you had to get it done at a certain age, because if you got it done after that age and the muscle in your eye is straightened up or something like that, I had a turn, alright? Yeah, I was a cross-eyed goofy motherfucker as a kid. I had to have that corrected. So I went to hospital and literally I was the only kid. So what, 1988, 11? Because remember, you're 2 years old, 2 years of age, different birthdays in every year, because I hate it when people correct me on how old you were when you say you are, when you talk about anniversaries. So I don't know, 11. And yeah, or 12 probably. So my mum could only stay because the opening hours, or the visiting hours I should say, till a certain time in the evening. And then from that time in the evening until my surgery being the next morning, I was alone. And I'm not going to lie, even at 12 years old, fucking terrified. I didn't like hospitals. Quite a sick kid. Spent a lot of my life in hospitals when I was a wee young'un, burns and shit like that. and 2 eye operations and a stomach operation. You needed to know all of that. But the point is, yeah, and in the kids area, they had a kids area, and they had a small selection of VHS tapes, and they had obviously a VHS. Because imagine they had a small selection of VHS tapes, but they had a fucking Betamax. I wouldn't put it past the NHS, though, would you? So anyway, one of the tapes they had, as I said earlier, I think you know where this is going, was Back to the Future, and I watched it 2 times back to back before the nurse came and made me go to bed. And this is why I hate hospitals, even as a kid. It's so hot, it's so bright, the beds are so uncomfortable, there's so much noise that you just lay awake all night. So in fact, you're probably happy to get to your surgery when they knock you out, because it's the only time you're going to get any fucking sleep in a hospital, isn't it? But yeah, and it was just a little bit of comfort in a really, really scary period of time. And then in very, very late 88 or very, very early 99, judge my family as you will, we finally got a VHS. And it was because, well, it was cheap, but it was because so we could record stuff off Sky Movies mainly and lend them to friends and stuff and borrow their stuff. But also it was because me and my brothers, because of the people who'd been around at school, were complaining, and we wanted to be able to buy, go into stuff like Woolworths and who remembers our price, and buy off the shelf tapes, and start our own VHS collections or video collections in general, because you could only buy X rental, and I would kill for an X rental of Back to the Future, but one was never put for sale in Enterprise Video on St John's Lane, which is where we went, because I guess they were so popular, particularly when Betamax was winding down. It was the better system. I will argue about that with anyone. So we finally got a VHS, and the first tape I bought was Back to the Future. And so it was in 1989. So it would have been the one with the trailer, the promo, excuse me, Winnie Pops, for Back to the Future 2 on it, and a little sticker on the front, obviously saying that, which was a special feature back then on VHSs. I don't have that, sadly, anymore. I don't have Back to the Future on VHS. I do look in every charity shop I go in, or Betamax would be a banger, but and can't find them. However, here's a representation of what it looked like. Only it had a little sticker there saying includes Back to the Future 2 trailer, and it had the to be continued at the end of the movie for setting up for Back to the Future 2. And this is actually a Blu-ray in the form of a cassette tape. Universal did a very limited line of these. They're absolutely banging. So I'm just using this to represent the first time I actually owned Back to the Future. That was in 1989, so I would have been 12 and or 13. And I wore that absolute bad boy out, completely and utterly wore it out to it. Points in it, like where I was pausing the time travel special effects and stuff like that. That it was so grainy and stuff, and it was just, yeah, it was dog scratching, because of course it was loved. It was well loved, that tape. Then Back to the Future, because DVD obviously kicked in 1997. Back to the Future didn't get its first DVD. I'm talking about big moments of it in my home viewing experience. Didn't get its big, DVD unveiling until 2002. And these are all from charity shops, so I don't take the price labels off, because this isn't my original one. Because in 2003 I moved to Canada and I sold all my DVDs because PAL. There's no point taking them with you, but they released this, which is an absolutely banging box set. It set the standard for box sets, for groups of movies, sequels and stuff like that. I don't want to say trilogies, because we go beyond than that, way beyond that now. But yeah, this set the standard. The presentation, the transfer for DVD, the special features, because each disc has its own prescribed level of, try not to get the glare on the Dave, special features, and there's one main documentary for each movie and other little ones and stuff like that. This was just, they set the standard, and even if you buy the basic version of it today on standard DVD, or you come across it in a charity shop, this is a fine edition of Back to the Future. So in the year or so I had this, the only thing is, it's a slip sleeve or case. It's vertical. Why? And it's cardboard. I'm not a massive fan of cardboard, but Yeah, so it's 3 discs. Each disc has a special feature. There is no bonus disc. It's very, very, very nice. But yeah, so I came to living crap out of this. Absolutely destroyed it, and then obviously went to Canada. When I was in Canada, there was a bloke who came in the pub allegedly with DVD rips. So I just bought 3 for a tenner off him and got the Back to the Future trilogy that way. But yeah, that was also re-released numerous packages, but they're all cardboard. At least this goes that way. Oh no, it opens like that. That's even worse. They're still not getting there, are they? But yeah, it's a bit more durable and stuff like that. And you don't have to worry about shit falling out. And then eventually it got like the slim down releases where you just got, yeah, I'm trying to get one of every version. You just got the movies. And I watched all these, depending upon how I feel at the time. I watched all of these. And so I came back from Canada 2006, 2007. I had a Xbox 360. It's relevant in 2009. I was 4 years late to that pie. I was 4 years late to the Xbox One, to be fair. So I knew what HD was. I knew it was shiny and fantastic. Both my brothers, my older and my twin, had PlayStation 3s, but I went the route of 360 because all my mates had one whom I worked with, and so you had an ecosystem for borrowing games and stuff like that, and it's a loyalty thing, isn't it? It's a tribal thing. I don't care what anyone says. It's a shoe cake. It's a shoey cake. Point of the quote. It's got nothing to do with Back to the Future. So I was aware of how good Blu-ray looked. I saw how shiny and fantastic, HD looked on my 360. And so in 2010, for the 25th anniversary, and this blew my mind because obviously I had repurchased the 2002 copy in those years of me coming back to the UK, because there's no way I was having a Back to the Future trilogy-sized hole in my life. But predominantly I want to talk about the first movie in this video, because I should have said that at the start, shouldn't I? Because it's the anniversary of that movie. Just checking the time. Awkward. That's a bit long, isn't it? So the 25th anniversary, and this was the first time it was released on Blu-ray. Apologies about the glare and or shine, but it is a nice case. I forget what this was. Was it 30 quid? Only problem was, I didn't have a Blu-ray player, and the day this got released, Smooth Move, can't talk. All this Back to the Future is warping my tiny little mind. Sainsbury's, they had a Blu-ray player, and this was cheap for a standalone Blu-ray player then, and it was Samsung, so it was decent, at £90. And it even said on the box you could region hack it, which I'm pretty sure you weren't supposed to say. So I went there and I bought it. And that's the first Blu-ray I ever bought, and I loved it because the picture quality was just something else. This is still an utterly fantastic print of the movie, and there's new special features on it, and it is and that's why I keep updating my box sets. It is a very, very, very nice looking set, but it's its whole I'm cardboard, be very bloody careful with me, which I don't like, which will bite us in the ass in the final. Well, I'm drooling because it's Back to the Future I'm talking about. I get a little bit carried away. Yeah, bite us in the ass, and the last one it was about, but I love that. So yeah, I watched it so much. That started my ritual of watching Back to the Future at least once a week, the first movie. The other two, I love them as much. I don't love them as much. They are great movies. It's still one of the greatest trilogy ever made. It's funny because as a kid when we went to see the second one in 1989, and because of all the hype and stuff like that, and the trailer on my original VHS, loved it, absolutely loved it, and then was disappointed with the third one in 1990. But then, as an adult, and growing up and getting a brain, like most people, I realised that the third one is better than the second one. So when you rank the trilogy, correct answer is 1, 3, 2. Wasn't there a bloke who used to do that for a game show or something in this country? Don't know. But yeah, so that then, a couple of years later, got individual hard case Blu-ray releases. Then I think there might even have been a version where you got all 3 of them in a cardboard slip. But these have all the special features that has, but obviously you only get them per movie that they're related to, per copy that you bought. But I would have liked that. I would have liked that well more than that, but I didn't know that at the time, because that's absolutely banging the first time you watch it on Blu-ray, especially when you see Doc Brown as an old man in the parking scene. at Twin Pines Mall, and you can see where all the makeup ends in Blu-ray, and he looks really really young because he is really really young, and also that effect, optical effect, when the fire goes underneath their feet and they both turn around like that. It's fucking terrible. It's not particularly great standard edition. It's one of the few effects that Zemeckis openly admits he hates in the movie. Um, and yeah, but it's even worse. It's even worse than 4K, but we'll get to that. Then, 5 years later, I'm not sure why they did this. I can only think of that 5 years later was the 30th anniversary of Back to the Future. So therefore it ties into the time travel, loops in the movie. That each period of time they go to is 30 years apart. That's the only reason I can think of it. So they released this. You can still buy this, and you can still buy this in Blu-ray. I only bought the standard edition because there were extra or new additions to the special features on this, and I had to have them. Granted, to be fair, the main one is only the fact that you get all the footage and like a kind of making of the Back to the Future theme ride, which I never got to go on. My parents did because they went there without us. Well, we could be left home alone at that point because we were adults. But the point is, yeah, I never ever got to go on the ride. So any new footage from Back to the Future, even if albeit just Tom Wilson and Christopher Lloyd, and the footage from the ride and details of how they made it and stuff like that, and sadly its demise, I had to see. It's new Back to the Future footage. I had to see it. Plus also, I'm pretty sure, but don't quote me on this, but I own it now anyway, Region 1, that there's a couple of episodes from the animated TV show that was never shown in this country until years later. It was never shown in its initial run. Shown years later on Nickelodeon. Can't get this open. Because there we go. Because the thing is, not brute force, Dave. There's an opening mechanism, and I just drooled on myself. I like cases like this because they look after your shit, so you don't have to look after. What Jurassic movie is that? You don't have to look after your shit. Oh, it's the Jurassic Park collection. Just curious. So I still bought that. I just didn't feel the need to buy it on Blu-ray just for the fact that I wanted that, essentially the Back to the Future ride. And to be fair, the episodes from the cartoon, because there was no other way to view them back then. But it is a really, 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 really nice cover. I am aware there are a lot more versions of Back to the Future than this. I'm pretty sure before... There is no 40th anniversary. What I'm about to show you is as close as we're going to get. Maybe I'll be proven wrong on that in the next few months, or maybe it already exists in other countries and I'm not aware of it because I live in backwater England. But I'm pretty sure before the 4K is what I'm talking about, that the 30th was the last main release. Anyway, I'm assuming this is 2, might be 3 years old this October. I bought the 4K version of Back to the Future because obviously I had to. You get all the original bonus footage and you get some additional more bonus footage, which is another main reason I bought it, but the first reason being I had to see it in 4K. There goes an airplane taking off. Thank you. Sorry, aeroplane, because I'm English, not airplane. Looks like an airplane without wings. See what I did there? Yeah, this is a very, very nice set as well, but once again, why are you cardboard? Why are you, I have to be so careful. Obviously, there you go, your all new bonus disc. And then you get Blu-ray as well as 4K in here. But yeah, so I had to have it, 4K transfer, which is superb. A lot of the time they really fuck up 4K transfers. I don't know why. I think it's to do with the fact that you got to take it off the original film stock, isn't it, to make a true 4K print or something like that. Again, I could be wrong. But yeah, so I bought this and I absolutely loved it. And I remember at the time when I put it on Facebook and people said, hey, dumbass, you do know you need a 4K player for that. Yeah, have a 4K player, have a games console that I bought specifically second-hand to be the downstairs DVD player for 4K on our 4K 50-inch TV screen. Because believe it or not, if somebody loves Back to the Future that much, I'm not going to be that fucking retarded. Anyway, fun fact. The only other 4K movie I own is Highlander, which will be 40 next year, because that's my second favourite movie of all time after Back to the Future. And ask me what other 4K movies I'm going to buy. None. Simply don't care. Don't see the point above Blu-ray. Might be, well, I mean, it's the downstairs DVD player. That's, to be fair, or Blu-ray player, 4K players you want. But yeah, the only 4K movies I need are those two movies, and specifically Back to the Future. So hopefully you'll understand, and it just seemed right to do this for the 40th anniversary. My affection a little bit more for Back to the Future. I've windy popped and I've cleared my throat through this, but yeah, hopefully you can see the love there and understand a bit more why this is my favourite movie of all time and has been since day one, for a group of memories in there and stuff like that. And I had therefore I had to go through. Shut up, dog, I'm almost done. I had to go through my journey through the home versions. Anyway, as always, I'd love to know what you think, especially your thoughts, feelings on the 40th anniversary of Back to the Future and your journey through all of its home media. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.